Hello and welcome to Learning Music with Pat. We're still working with intervals and I'm going to do some reviewing on that today, but I thought I would show you something that I brought in first before I do anything else. This is a roll-up piano. Now I did cut off one end of it because it's not working anymore, and that end was just like a square and it had buttons on it so you could control the volume and the settings that you want. This thing had over 20-30 settings on it when it was playing, and it was a pretty good size. And the thing about it that people don't understand or that surprises them is that you can roll the thing up, and that's what I used to do. I used to do a lot of nursing home ministries and playing concerts, and so all I did was take my piano out and drape it over my arm and carry it on the platform, carry it down from the platform, and it was a source of endless amusement for people who had no idea what it was. And I've even had piano players, people who came to see me, and they would play the piano, and they were just amazed at this. It had a wonderful tone, it had many settings, and it was very accurate in its pitch, and its sound for the settings was very accurate. An organ sounded like an organ. You could get like 5 types of organs on it, and it was just a very nice thing, but it has 2 problems. And the first problem, which isn't so serious, but it can be a problem if you play it a lot, is that the keys do not depress. If you take a regular piano and you press a key, that key goes down. Well, this doesn't. It's flat. And so when you press it, you're pressing like on a flat surface. And what happens is that can do some damage to the arms, your wrists, your shoulders, your neck, your upper back. And because you're forcing it to play and it's not responding to you. It is responding in its own way. It's playing the tone. But as you press it down, you have there's no give to it. You're just pressing something that's hard, that doesn't move. And if you do it enough, you can injure yourself from it. You can get a very sore back, very sore shoulders as a result of all of that. But the worst problem about it is that suddenly it'll just die and not play anymore. Now, I thought it's because of all the little filaments in it, all the little parts in it, that when you roll it up, because it comes rolled up, it comes in a little tiny box all rolled up, and I thought that would damage some of the wiring or whatever it is it's made out of. It would damage it. So what will happen is it'll play wonderful. You think you're in like Flynn, you can replace the batteries, and it just goes on, and then suddenly it'll start making some squeaky noises, or maybe a sustained tone that won't stop. You press a key and you lift up on it, it should stop playing, but it doesn't. It just keeps going. You actually have to turn it off and then turn it back on again to get certain keys to stop playing, and it does some just kind of bizarre things, and then it's done. It just doesn't play anymore. I've had 3 of these. I would like to get another one. You don't see them advertised like you used to. They came out like gangbusters. A lot of people were buying them, but because everybody was having the same problem, they'd last for maybe a year or a year and a half, sometimes just a few months, and then they were gone. They didn't play anymore. And so as a result of that, you hesitate to buy something if you know it's not going to be there, it's not going to be useful to you in maybe a few months. And that's what happened. Suddenly it was out. So I have this, and I cut off the control section because it would make it more hard to handle. But you see the keyboard is there, normal size, and I really liked it, and I wish there was a way that they could make something like it that would be permanent. You have a good instrument and it lasts for years and years. All you had to do with this was to change the batteries. Now, what you had to do was to get a piece of foam board or put it on a table because it has to lay in a flat surface. So if I was playing in a church or a nursing home, I cut out a foam board piece, which is heavy enough so it'll support it. And then I wrapped it up in contact paper so it would look like wood. And then I laid it on it, and then it was flat. Now, when I got it home to my apartment, I never folded it up. I always laid it out flat. So it was flat unless I was carrying it. And when I was carrying it, I didn't tightly wrap it up. I just loosely folded it or something like that. So I thought it would last longer because I was taking ultra good care of it, but it still died just the same. That's the problem with the roll-up pianos, but they are nice, and I would like to get another one, although I'm not sure it's worth spending the money because they just don't have them so that they last for an indefinite period of time, like a regular piano would. But they're handy as all get out. If you're going someplace, if you're going on a picnic, if you're doing something with a church service, if you're in an orchestra, you just kind of carry it. Then when you're finished, you roll it up or put it on your arm and just walk off with it. And people just love to see it because most people haven't. You know, you can have an instrument that's very common and very few people have seen it. And so this would be one of those instruments. But anyway, this is a roll-up piano for what it's worth, and right now it doesn't play. Now, as we've been talking about various intervals in music, I want to just do a little review of it, and we've gone through part of it, but not all of it. If we look at a keyboard in this chart, this is middle C. I put it in pink so it'll just be easier to see. Now, if you go to a C to a D, it's a step. If you go to a C to an E, that's going to be a third. A C to an F is going to be a fourth, and then a fifth, sixth, and seventh. C to B will be a seventh, and then the eighth will be the other C, and it's going to be an octave. So a lot of music is written with a lot of intervals. So let me just take my melodica. This is a little melodica made in Germany. It's a very nice one, and it's always perfect pitch. This middle C, I don't know if you realize, I don't know if you can pick it up. This C is grooved. If I put it like this, maybe you can see it. Right here, it's grooved. And although you'd be looking at it more like this with the black on top. And then that's kind of like the middle of the instrument. It would be considered to be like a middle C. So if I play it, that would be a step. It does not sound good. There's your third. Fourth. That was fifth, sixth. That usually sounds good together. And then you have your seventh. That doesn't sound good either because the vibrations are so close that they just don't, they bounce off each other very well. And there's your octave. So you could go a little higher than that. If I started lower, you could have 11ths and 10ths, 11ths, 12ths, and so forth. But music is written with intervals like that. And so if you want to listen to some, let me take this down for a moment. I may put it back up. I may not. So I want to go over some. Here it is, my music stand. I can't do without my music stand. I should have put it in a better position, I guess. So for the thirds, I'm just going to go over some of these. For the thirds, this is when you have a 3, and I'm going to play. I've written some simple songs just so that you can hear what it would be in a song, those various intervals. So this is your third right here. This D to F sharp is going to be a third. And then when you get to other intervals, G to E is going to be a third. And there's a lot of thirds in there, and I wrote it for that purpose of having different thirds so you'd be able to hear it. So I'm just going to play this maybe once, and then we're going to go on to fourths and fifths and sixths, just so you can hear how they appear in music. Let me play that again and see if you can follow along. I have changed it here so you get some fourths in there, because if you get thirds and your main interval is a third, then you're going to have to gear your music around that. If you want the most music, I have several intervals, and I'll be showing you that a little later. So let me try this again, and I'm not going to play it too fast, and then you can just follow along. Now, one thing about that F sharp, you have the D, which is this, and then I lift these two fingers and I get the F sharp. And because the F sharp is in the key signature, so you can see that it's there. So D to the F sharp. And then I go from A to the D. Here's the fingering for the A, and the D is like this. So that can be a little tricky in terms of balance. Here you have the A and the D, the A and the D. But once you get used to playing it, so let me play it once again, just follow along, and then I'm going to go to the fourth. Now for the C sharp, there is a C sharp in here. If you were to play the D, to play the C sharp, just put this finger down. And if you put this down, then you get the C. It's a good exercise to go from one note to another note to another note and keep one note for the whole range and just add other notes to it. It makes a very good fingering exercise for you to be able to learn how to finger the notes. Now a flute will play the D like this. So if you went from C to D, but if you were playing a recorder, which is harder to balance, the flute has an easier time in terms of balancing because you're going to have those other fingers down. And for the saxophone, all your fingers would be down for that high D. So there are different ways of playing it when you're playing different instruments, but it's fairly similar. So let me take this down. And then let's go to the fourth. You know what would be a good exercise to try? It would be just to take an instrument and just see if you can think of songs that begin with the various intervals. Now, this is, let me see, I'm going to kind of look on the side to see this, but this will be the fourth. Now, from that D to that G is a fourth. So I made it into kind of like a march tempo, but that would be the fourth. Let's go on to the fifth. If you want to write music, one of the things that you could do is just start off with an interval and see where it goes from there. Now that fifth is going to be from the D to the A, D, E, F, G, A. So if I play this, this is going to be a fifth. And it's not too fast, but I'm going to repeat the fifth as we go along, and this is the way it goes. Now, when you come to the end of a song, a lot of times you repeat part of what you just played before, but you play it slower. That takes the whole tempo and slows it down, which is an indication that the song is coming to an end. In other words, you don't have to have repeat signs and DCs and DSs and all of that, although you can, and a lot of music does. But you can write a simple song and take the last four measures or so. A four measure is considered to be a phrase, and take and repeat that and just slow it down, and that's the end of the song. Now, this song does not go very fast, but you can see it's loaded with the fifths, which is the practice that I want you to get. I want you to get practice in playing the intervals. And then if you just go ahead and play an interval and just play and go fool around with it, then it may lead you to some kind of a melody that's kind of in your head, and you can start writing songs that way. A little rough, but I just made it up in my head as I was going on. But I started off with that fifth. There's just another song which I just made up in my head as I was going along. But the way that I did it, I started off with an interval. I chose an interval, and then I just kind of played around with it and fooled around and got a song out of it. Now, it's not going to be a great song. It's not going to be in the class of Beethoven, but who cares? It's a song. You know, and you learn how to play, and you can learn how to compose by doing something like that. So that's the fifth, and if you notice, there's a hold on this, and there's a little slash. And when you get to that little slash, you just stop for a fraction of a second. It's just a little hesitation, and then you keep going. Our tempo means that you bring it back to the original key, the original speed. So let me play that once again, and I'm going to follow this. There'll be a retard here. That means go slow, and then there'll be a hold right here. You hold that E, and you hold it a little longer. You can hold it as long as you want, but in a song like this, you probably wouldn't want to hold it a whole long time, just enough to make a difference. Then you have that little hesitation, and then you play the next note. It's like the beginning of the next phrase, and it says a tempo, back to the original speed. Then there's another retard down here, and it goes a little slower here, and that's the end of the song, and you put a hold on it. That's the end of the song, and you hold that last note as long as you want to. So let me try this again. that's the entire song, and it's based on fifths. So let me take this down, and we will start on the sixth. I think I have enough time to do this. I won't get to finish it today, but we'll just finish it next time. Now, the sixth usually sounds pretty good. If you take a sixth, and if you were to play them together, which you can't with a recorder, but with other instruments you can, it usually sounds very nice together. Some of the intervals, if they're too close together, don't sound good, like the first and the seventh. It's only like one step to the next one, and it's almost like the vibrations interfere with each other. But when you get to the sixth, and the fifth and the fourth, and some of those, they sound pretty good. This is the sixth. And what I did was I wrote a waltz out of it. And you have your repeat sign right here. It's in 3/4 time. This is a hold right here. So you hold that note for 2 beats instead of 1. And then you do the first ending. You go back and you do the second ending. Now, I also went beyond the second ending and added another slower part to it to end it. So let me just try that, and I think we'll have to close on this. And that's the whole thing. It's a waltz. That's the whole thing. So when you get here, you repeat and you go back. You're already in this first ending. You have a retard, you have a hold, and you have a little cutoff. And then that goes right back. This is like the first note of this phrase. It goes right back to that repeat side, and you have that hold there that's like a little tie. So you hold that for 2 beats, and you go down here, and then you play this. You don't play the first ending again. You've already played it once, so you go here to the second ending, and then this completes it. And it's like a little bit of an extension of what that last line is, but at a slower pace, so you're bringing it to a halt. You're actually slowing down the music and bringing it to a halt. And so that's one way of ending a song. But what I'm showing you is that if you take an interval, you can make music out of it. And that's what I've done here. Now, I still have a few more of these to go. I want to do, let me see, I want to do like sevenths and eighths and so forth, so you'll get a chance to see it better. So we'll just continue with this next time. So we'll close it here. Please join me next time.